As another choice, this is an important one. In the last time when we came across the situation, basically, if she's going to be looking for Diane after this, that's what we're talking about with Kate. And so I probably picked this one. Tell her how Diane defended us from the two Lassetti and to help ease Kate's mind. This is probably what we picked last time, but the guide says that I should pick if she's going to looking for Diane after all that happened. Ask her if she's still going to look for Diane after what happened. So, what are you planning to do now? I ask her. Are you still going to keep looking for Diane? Kate doesn't answer me immediately, deciding instead to spend a couple of seconds studying it should be a ant colony slowly making their way down towards their ant hill. Yes, she says after a while. I'm not going to give up just because she sent me away with an electric shock. I've seen her act this way before. She's trying to protect me from something, trying to shoulder all of the burden herself, like she did when we were kids. I hate it when she does that. To make matters worse, her rash behavior is what almost sent us all to our graves. I swear I'm going to give her one hell of a beating when I see her again. Does that mean that you're still going to be participating in the tournament? Yes, she pauses. I no longer have any idea on Diane's whereabouts, Kate says. If the organizer eventually announces some objectives, I'll have to at least try and complete their tasks to avoid getting disqualified for the lack of participation. Until then, I am thinking of sticking around with you guys. That is to say, if she pauses again, if you'll have me, she continues. Of course we'll have you, Kate, I say. I know that Darren has been acting a little strange lately, but trust me when I say that. I pause mid-sentence because I see that Darren is now heading towards us with a very uncomfortable look on his face. Speaking of the devil, I tell Kate in a low voice. This is where he is talking to her and she thinks he's going to confess to her. That's really good. Listen, Darren says, looking at Kate. When he gets close, there's something I've been meaning to tell you for a while, but I really couldn't find the right moment. Oh God, you're not going to propose to me, are you? Kate says, damn it, no. Darren says, then he immediately tries to regain his composure. That's not what I meant. It's just that lately I haven't really talked to you. Actually, I haven't even spoken a word to you for days. Really? Kate says, looking genuinely surprised. I never noticed. Darren looks like he's about to lose his cool again, but this time he manages to rein in his emotions. Man, I would laugh. If I was Barry, I would laugh. I started talking to you. I've stopped talking to you right after Azarius told us that you're an artificial. Yeah, this is the same apology thing. Everything's same after that. This is a meaningless choice. We're just making like conversation, like how there's the food is all gone when we woke up late in the day and all that stupid shit. So that I'm just gonna go with, that's mighty generous of you. Well, you know me, Darren says, always look out for my fellow men. The fact that this is a universal credo of all white mage is what makes it so ironic, I tell him. I take some dry meat and an apple out of my backpack and start to eat. Barry, why didn't you tell me you woke up? Flower calls out to me disappointed as she sees me finishing my meal. I was waiting for you before making your breakfast so it wouldn't get cold. Yeah, well, Darren forgot to mention that you're still taking orders, I say. Don't sweat it, wasn't really all that hungry anyway. Yeah, I've already seen this. Okay, here's the next option, but let's read a little bit so this is not as confusing. Darren stopped talking before a familiar figure had just appeared out of thin air in front of him. A boy with his eyes closed and his hands in his pocket and a polite smile on his face. Greetings, friend, Aiden says. I come bearing news. Aiden, Darren says with a frown. Now, Aiden says, there's no need to be hostile. Only came to help. How did you find us? I ask him. By tracing your auras, of course. Aiden says, I just finished my business on the other side of the island and thought I'd pop by for a visit. Could you possibly identify us just by our auras from that far away, I say. Our auras are much more complex than you may think, Barry, Aiden says. Most people only use them to learn of a person's magical prowess. Maybe to understand their basic emotional state, but a person's aura is capable of showing us much more than that. With enough practice, you will be able to see each person's aura is unique, and it may be used to track them down from a great distance. If your magical sense is sharp enough, mine happens to cover the whole island of Horatia. You mean to say that you can find out any person's whereabouts at any given time? I say yes, but like I said, auras can be used for many other things. Aiden says, for example, if you study a person's aura fluctuation carefully enough, you can tell if they're lying or not. Besides that, you can also find out their age, their race, their mental state. If you tamper with a person's aura enough, you can even stop them from aging. Speaking of auras, Barry, I happened to see your aura in very close proximity to two Lassetti a few days ago. You remember to give them my message? Crap, he's talking about the two Lassetti that were with Diane. His stupid message was the last thing on my mind at the time. What am I supposed to tell him now? I'm sorry, I was barely even. Yeah, he will be able to tell if you're lying anyway. So I believe that we are supposed to choose. I'm sorry, I was barely even able to talk to at that point. I'd just been electrocuted. I think he's just going to like crush Rose after this. I'm sorry, I was barely. Yeah, that's true. Eren says, I could tell even from afar they're barely able to hold on to your senses at that time. And he's gonna be crushed now. Yeah, this is the same thing after that. Here we are in chapter 11. We are at a impasse. There's nothing much that happened. I was just reading around. I took too much time reading around on my own. It's just Aiden comes around, he crushes Rose, then Luna starts some shit, then Ilea, the golden fox, starts some shit, and it ends. I've already read all this in the main series. You can go read it over there. So this is where Flower is like, I'm fine, I don't need you to worry about me and all that bullshit, which is completely fine, honestly. So I'm just gonna say this is a meaningless choice, really. So we're just gonna go, maybe we should take a small break, we enter the city. I've done this exact same thing before as well. So she's gonna say it's fine, and then they head over, and the wall comes in and all that. The guard comes in and is like, Rose, oh, it's you, okay, whatever. So here's we are talking about Varathia and their laws. Oh, in Varathia, most of the poor people are too afraid to seek conflict with the nobles, because in doing that, they're only endangering their families. So I think I picked your nobles are starting to sound less like nobles, more like a gang of thugs. But we are supposed to choose their families. Aren't there laws against this sort of thing? There are, Rose says, but the nobles aren't subjected to them. Sounds terrible, Darren says. I cannot even begin to imagine the amount of discrimination that these people are faced with every day of their lives because of these unfair laws. How can this be allowed to happen? Well, Rose says, technically it's the nobles and the royalties who are allowing to happen. So obviously they don't really have a problem with the way things are right now. You guys really live in a completely different world, right? Oh yeah, this is all this bullshit. So this is the point where Darren cannot attack the noble, and the noble's like, oh, the slave girl, he's going to kill the slave girl. Now Aiden is like, oh, you can have the power. Last time I said nothing, in which case we still get the power forcibly given to us anyway, and the girl also dies, so there's no point in all of this. But that's also fine. So we're just gonna ask Aiden for the powers, which you're supposed to do anyway. Ask Aiden for the powers to save the girl. He's going to give me the powers instead so I can save the girl. If Darren won't accept the power, then I will, I say. I was expecting you to say something. I was not. I did not say that last time. I just held out for like 3 incredibly long and painful pages last time. Well, good job me. Here we are. The next hour of recording. For some fucking reason, I paused my recording so that I could split it in multiple halves. Then I recorded for an hour, and then I realized that I have not recorded anything on my phone. The audio is still there, which is fine because this is a text-based game. You don't need video to see what I'm doing. You just have to hear it. There's nothing to see on the screen anyway. It's not like there's pictures in this game, but still it's really infuriating when I do stupid shit like this. So apologies, but till book 1's end there is no video. Not that there's much to see in the video, as I just said. Why am I repeating myself? But yeah, unfortunate. Excuse me for that, and enjoy the story, because the story is just the same. Doesn't really matter what's written in text. Was expecting you to say something like that, Aiden says with a smile. Very well then. The Stillwater then raises his hand, and a powerful wind starts spinning around him for a few seconds. And as the wind stops, Aiden lowers his hand and he looks towards me. It is done, he says. Weird, I say. I don't feel any different. Look at the nobleman and try to imagine yourself hitting him. Aiden says, you will see the dominant spell no longer poses any resistance. As I do what he says, I realize that he is right. When I imagined myself hitting the nobleman before, I definitely felt some sort of force that was trying to stop my very train of thought from forming. But none of that happens anymore. I waste no time and run towards the noble while I ready up my right fist. As soon as I reach him, I punch him hard in the face. It makes him fall on his back. What is the meaning of this? The noble shouts, furious from the ground. How dare you? Do you know who I am? Sure, I tell him. You're just another rich jackass who let his wealth and social status go to his head. Welcome to the real world, buddy. I don't like this at all. I honestly, believe me or not, the other playthrough I just stood there and let things go the way they went. I was more happy with that one. The reason why is because, as I probably said before, one of my one thing is not going to change society. My one action of saving this girl is not going to change the entire way their society functions. The way to change a society like that, you slowly bring about conversation, change like that. You influence them from an external standpoint and an internal standpoint through rebellion within their own country, and from an external standpoint where you, through international relationships, tell them that, you know, this is the sort of stuff that you do that we condemn, and we're not going to trade with you if you behave in this such manner and stuff like that. You cannot simply go in and just like kill a politician and be like, haha, I have changed the society. That's not how how it's going to work. That is fucking dumb. So what is the point of saving that one person in front of you? I never really got that. So it's this hero complex of like, this is the sort of thing that really does not vibe with me. But and then again, it's really enduring as well, because in most shows, right, if you watch any anime or anything like that, it's most shows, a person would be like, oh, this is wrong, and like, I am the hero and all that, and then he saves one person that is in front of them. Funny enough, if you actually have been following like the Goku's whole situation with Dragon Ball Z, I believe there is one time they actually end up on a planet with like slaves and stuff like that, and they save them only because that there is in their path. But Goku never says that he is like some justice warrior, or is like, his only thing is like, he himself just cares about himself and his family members. But when he sees stuff in front of him that might be like the stuff that he does not personally like, he might interfere, but he never's like, I am a hero, I need to do this. But none of that sort of thing happened, because of which I do like Goku a lot, unlike what people say how like bland of a character he is. I really like that part about him, and because of which, similar, in my case is even worse, because I look at this even more from an even larger perspective, not even from the hero or like, I don't like this, I'm gonna stop this, sort of perspective. I see that as, that's not going to change jack shit. Just this, hurting this noble is not going to do anything. So I don't see the whole point in this whole situation. So whatever.